For over 40 years, SCM
has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education,
and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government
come together.
Commission Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency meeting for Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024 to order. We have a vacancy tonight, so we can sit. And approval of minutes for November 19th, 2024. Does anyone have any changes or additions or corrections? With a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain, I wasn't there. All right. New applications for receipt and determination of significance. Application CC number 2430-36 of Naji Realty Management, applicant and owner for the wetland permit to remove approximately a 30 by 40 foot building addition and replace with a new approximately 50 by 40 foot building addition, portion of which is located in the upland review area at 30 Walcott Road, Specialty Saw Inc. Assessors map I-03, lot 439, lot 009A, Simsbury.
So this item is for receipt and determination of significance. The applicant is here. I'll just briefly go through the project. The permit is for the demolition of the front part of the rear building, which is right here. They are going to demo the front portion and then add on, rebuild that and add on 2 additions on either side. The edge of the building is approximately 40 feet from the wetland soil boundary. In 2004, there was a soil scientist report that explained more about the soils surrounding the area. They're described as peats and mucks, very poorly drained soil. And then the upland soils is described as disturbed soil that moderately drains. And then the applicant has proposed silt fencing, as you can see. And I just wanted to point out the steep slope. Sometimes there's questions that arise about the topography of it. There's a steep slope between the building and then where the wetland soils are. And then if the applicant has anything further to add.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for the record. My name is Guy Hesketh. I'm a licensed professional engineer with F.A. Hesketh and Associates. And our offices are located in East Granby. And we're assisting the specialty saw people in the application that you have here. And we were here back in 2004 when they actually put the addition on what we call the front building. That's out in front. It's about a 5,000 square foot addition or so. Haven't really done much since then. The wetlands haven't changed. If you notice, the wetlands are located along the cut bank to the floodplain of what used to be the oxbows of the Farmington River there. And then on the right-hand side, there's a drainage swale that goes off of our property that goes in a southern direction. That's further that way, Brittany. You can't see it on that plan.
Oh, okay.
So the activities are within your 100-foot upland review area. The rear building, you'll notice the larger box on the south part of that is a 50 by 40 foot building. Years ago, they put the addition on the front, which was a 30 by 40 foot. They're going to rip that down and just square up the building so it'll be 50 feet wide and the same length as it is there. So really not much work. It's in an area that's been has been disturbed historically. And we're just proposing to put silt fencing around the perimeter. It's very sandy soil, so the water percolates nicely into the ground below. Slab on grade building, a little bit of saw cutting on the existing pavement that's there. Put the building up, skin the building, and all the other work will be on the inside, essentially. And then just patch up the pavement around it. So very minimal activity. It is within your upland review area. We're just requesting tonight that you make a determination that it's not a significant activity, so we can do a full presentation at your next meeting. Of course, accept the application tonight if you believe that. So it's a complete application. And any questions, I can certainly answer for you. Matt Costco's especially saw he's here in case you have any questions for him. And having said that,
when do you think you'll be doing the work?
I think the goal is to look at this spring.
Yes, it's dependent on pricing. We were considering renovation of the existing building at first versus demo and enlarging the footprint of that one. So we don't have those costs yet, but springtime would be around the start of that project.
It'd probably take, the work would take 2 months to do the building and the work outside with the foundation and footing, and then the rest of the work will be done in the interior. That'll take another couple of months to do.
We're looking at 4 months.
4 months total.
So right behind that, that's the bike trail, the old railroad right
Yes.
of way.
Yes, you can see, you can see it on the bottom of the page of the rails to trails. Yes.
Yeah, so it's a pretty disturbed area.
Yeah, historically it has been. The only place that's is not disturbed is the former floodplain, which is just, left alone. It's been for years, I guess you'd say, outside of the limits of the wetlands. It's a pretty distinct line from where the land is, and then it drops off to the former floodplain. And that's right where the wetlands are. That hasn't changed. And that whole area there is undisturbed.
On the other side of that.
The other side, yeah.
Of the railroad right of way.
That's correct. Yeah, you can see the water course that runs through the other side. There's just a culvert that goes under Wolcott Road, and then it goes under the old railroad grade, and then discharges to the floodplain of the Farmington River. That picks up drainage up on Hot Middle Street, that area down there, those neighborhoods that are back there, the apartment complex further up.
Yeah. How long has the building been there, the main building?
Oh, gosh. I think it dates back to the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Nagy runs the business now, and he inherited it from his father. So it dates back, I believe, sometime in the 50s. The first building was here, something like that. It's been there for quite a while.
And the second one was from 2000.
Well, the addition on the front building, you can see the rectangle to the right on the eastern side. That was put in 2005.
2005 was the beginning of it.
Yeah, it was the beginning.
2006 was
2005, 2006. The rear building, I'm not sure what that was built later. It might go back to the 70s.
Okay. I was here in late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
It's been there for quite a while. It's a slab on grade building. There's no basement or anything in it. Very sandy soils. 2 septic systems on the site. So we did test pits over the years for those. And the water table's down around 6 feet or so, 4 to 6 feet, depending on where on the site you are.
Does it slope towards the right of way at all?
It has a very gentle slope from Wolcott Road towards kind of that triangular corner of the site. So it kind of flows from northeast to southwest, but it's very, very flat site. Not more than a couple of feet of grade difference between it. If you picture driving down Wolcott Road, you can vision it on your right, and then as you head towards, you go past the landfill, and then you start going up the hill, and the airport's here. It's really flat where the airport is. This is a little bit lower, but it's still flat, and then you have a little bit of a hill that you go up. But it's historically it was part of some glacial outwash, and then the river carved itself through the glacial outwash, so it's fairly flat, but it does have a very gentle slope.
Do you have any other questions? entertain a motion about significant.
I'll move this is not significant activity. We should deal with it next scheduled meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. See you next week.
We'll look forward to making a full presentation in a couple of weeks. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
for your time.
All right, the next item on our agenda is application CC number 24-37. This is a new application received determination of significance of Hot Meadow Country Club applicant and owner for wetland permit to dredge a stream and install drainage at 85 Firetown Road, assessors map E08, block 148, lot 001, Simsbury.
Yeah, you can. I have a couple slides.
Yep, please.
This is the Country Club at 85 Firetown Road for determination of significance. It's a permit for the removal of accumulated sediment from the stream bottom on the course and the installation of 2 drainage lines. The application explained that the timeline would be about 2 to 3 weeks, January to February. The stream is an overflow stream from the main pond that was recently renovated or dredged earlier this year. And the expected amount of soil to be about 400 cubic yards. This is a picture of that was provided. The vegetation will remain with no change to the stream banks. The depth is expected to be about 1 to 2 feet, and riprap will be used in netting for the bank stabilization. I think that's it. That's all I have.
So the vegetation is remaining, the riprap goes in the bottom, or what, where's?
So, Rod Hyman, I'm the manager of the club. I think like I've seen you guys play these last 2 years, so thank you. The whole point is, this used to be a practice that was done at the club for years and years, and at some point it was abandoned for some reason. So what's been happening is the creek itself has built all the sediment through the years from the pond coming back to it, and the flow has basically stopped. So the idea is to reestablish the flow, which will then get the water back to the way it's supposed to be and help with the drainage and reestablish the water flow, of course. The work is then in the middle, so it's basically just removing the sediment from the middle of the creek so that the water can flow naturally and the way it's supposed to.
But where's the riprap going then?
On the sides, just to secure the banks. So everything that we do goes into the middle. Riprap goes in the middle, the bottom portion, so that we don't have to affect the outer portion of the.
Okay, so you're basically saying you're taking the riprap and sort of putting it around the bottom.
Correct.
Going up both sides.
Correct.
The goal is not to impact the existing vegetation.
Correct. We've learned a lot since the last projects with the pond and the paddle and everything else.
So how far back does the, how far back to the mowed area is from the stream?
You can literally see where you see the red marking?
Yes.
To the right of that is play area already. So that's when we did the biology study for last year's project. Those were the areas that were determined to be wetlands, to be preserved. So that's why we always mark it as unplayable, and that's the area that's preserved.
So how much of the stream, how wide will the stream?
We're not changing the width, we're just reestablishing the depth, right? So the hydrologist that we hired last year when we did the pond study, he's the one who recommended that we reestablish this flow, because right now the water's going nowhere. So it's not what nature intended to be, so we're trying to reestablish that.
If you look at the picture from the, I can't remember from the picture before, is the flow going towards the main pond or coming out of the main pond?
Out of the main pond.
Okay.
So if you think of the pond goes back, on one side of the pond, it goes back to Grimes Brook, and on the other, from one end, it follows the creek, and then it meets at the end towards where the bottom of the hill where the apartments are, and then across the river to the restaurant over there.
Okay, so this isn't, okay, I probably missed that. So this is not like a natural creek, this is the overflow that goes into the main creek. Okay, I think that's important because that determines whether it needs to be a public hearing. Because if it was an actual waterway, like it was real stream work, then you would have to have a public hearing. Correct?
Significance, but
Yeah, it's in the wetland soil technically.
and it doesn't matter how it was created.
Okay.
think just to keep with precedent.
So how was it determined where the red line is for vegetation?
When we did this study last year for the pond, we hired the biologist and we did the whole study of the wetlands area and we did the demarcation.
Yeah.
So this is literally following that mapping for the entire area.
And the sediment, how is the sediment getting into the pond? You know?
Just natural water flow. Same reason why we had to clear the pond as well, just through years of just
Not
sediment.
road sand or
Correct.
other.
Just, overflow water going through rain. And again, it's not something that was maintained through probably the last couple of decades. So it's just taking its toll, it's time to address it.
And I'm assuming you've done a sort of a survey of the vegetation that's there. Is there any invasives in that?
Not in this area. We did have some that was around the pond that we discussed the last one that we removed. And I was at that time, I invited all of you, any idea you guys have for us, we're glad to meet with you. We also did the pilot project by the paddle project where we put the riprap and we replanted that area as well to see how that works. So worked really well.
So where's the outflow on this? I'm sorry, I was trying to.
It goes towards the apartments, going downtown towards where the restaurant is, flowing to the side of the high school and going down the hill. It follows the natural flow of the creek.
Can you explain the sediment control while you're doing the project?
Riprap and the contractor specified the material that he would like to use and how he would like to.
Well, I was thinking while you're doing the excavation, you have a rainstorm.
It just literally gets scooped and put in the back of the cart and removed to the on-site dump. So nothing gets stored by the creek. We remove it immediately to the area that we'd approved previously for sediment.
Is there a need for a sort of hay?
So in the application, the contractor you're using did mention they're going to be using silt fencing
During
it. So it might be helpful at the next meeting to kind of have a site plan just showing
Yes,
where that's
and
going
I
to be.
was thinking, if you're working in the stream, if a big storm comes up and you've got excavation before you put down the riprap, some of it's going to wash downstream. So some sort of a.
He specified what he wants to use, and it's like I said, it's a sequential. You remove it straight to the bucket, to the vehicle, so it doesn't get stored in the area.
Yeah.
Similar to what we did at the pond. It goes from the bucket to the vehicle and moved out immediately.
No, I'm thinking once it's removed, it's loose. And that's what if you get a storm at that point, that will wash downstream.
I think what you're asking about is
A check dam or hay bales or something across the
Right, like if you're working in
filter.
sections.
Right, yeah, it depends on the timeline of like when you're doing the digging and then when you put down the riprap.
Yeah.
So are you thinking that you're going to dig everything out and then put down riprap? Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's sequential. You remove it, goes to the back of the truck, and you move it out to the site where it's going to be stored. Nothing gets left on site.
Right, but we're talking about the riprap that goes down because what she's worried about.
Oh, sure, yeah.
When you got it dug out, now there's nothing protecting that, so the storm comes in the middle of 2 weeks.
It's 100%. The riprap goes in the areas that were affected.
Immediately after you take it out.
Okay.
All right, so that could be specified in the.
Yeah, in the same format that we did the pond. So
And probably, I mean, it's not a very big, but a couple of hay bales
Yeah.
to filter it out during that period in case there's anything. Staked hay bales. Any other questions? All right, we
So this is only when that main pond overflows. This is
correct,
like-
and obviously rain, any water that goes through the rain that goes through ends up in that basin that goes down.
Yeah, like from the surrounding, but it's there to keep the pond from flooding.
Correct.
Basically.
There's one of the two outlets from the pond, one, the one that's established to go back to Grimes Brook, and this one will be the overflow, it will meet Grimes Brook at the end of the project. And it's been there, historically, it's been part of the design of the system since day one.
The topography is pretty flat.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion for significance?
Motion that we find that it is a significant activity as it is occurring in the wetland soils. And that we schedule a public hearing in our
December 17th.
December 17th meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. 17.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next item for this action on an application, which is application CC number 24-31 of Michael Bay, owner, for wetland permit to remove brush and other vegetation in the upland review area of 3 Weetog, East Weetog, assessors map G14, block 108, lot 001A, Simsbury.
I don't see the owner here. He was here at the previous meeting. It was determined not significant. He did some brush and vegetation removal in the rear portion of his property, approximately 44 feet from the matched soils. So it was just a little bit in his property that was in the regulated area. He explained that there was removal of a lot of brush and some invasives and grapevine. And he left the larger trees there. The soil and erosion control measures are the silt fencing in back. He's also removing the dead ash tree on the other side of the property. So this one has a motion and a vote.
Just curious, were the cattails removed?
No, they were not removed. No, those are off property. It was about 16 feet away. So the land behind it.
And my recollection of this particular one was that the soils were already disturbed in this area. Is that correct?
The soils were it was an overgrown area.
Okay.
Then that they removed the brush from it.
Brush.
Yeah.
Just want to find out. Grapevine is native.
Grapevine is native.
Grapevine is native. Might be annoying on days.
Yeah, there was another. I can't remember the species, but he said there was something else growing
Okay,
there.
right.
Yes. Yes.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So this was just the removal of brush and other vegetation.
Right. Right.
Is there any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the application CC 24-31 of Michael Way for the permit to remove brush and other vegetation of the review area at 3 East Weetog Street. Due to the fact that the project will not adversely impact the wetland soil, short-term impact from post-development will be controlled by installment and maintenance of erosion and sediment controls, subject to the conditions listed in staff report.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Our next item is a public hearing for application CC number 24-32, Town of Simsbury, owner, engineering department applicant, for a wetland permit to dredge Town Forest Pond located at 86 Town Forest Road, assessors map B1-113, B13, block 406, lot 010, Simsbury. So I'd like to call the public hearing to order. And do we have any, usually we start with public comment. Do we have any comment from the public?
We have Adam here from engineering.
All right, yes, all right, sorry.
Hesitation.
Yes, we do usually start with the applicant. Sorry.
Good evening. For the record, Adam Kessler with the engineering department. So we're here tonight for hopeful approval of dredging of Town Forest Pond. This project was listed in our open space master plan as a priority for the town. Essentially, the project will restore the original volume and function of this pond, including the silt basin that was installed in the early 1980s. That's in the northern section of the pond that's more overgrown than the main pond. Lack of maintenance over the last few decades has resulted in excessive sediment accumulation in the pond and that basin. The pond surface area is less than an acre. We don't intend to expand the limits of the pond. It's just removing sediment from inside the pond limits. Estimated volume of material to be removed is approximately 1,000 cubic yards. That might increase depending on what we find as we're removing material. Essentially, we'll be removing material and looking for that, original bottom of the pond. We've looked through our records and do not have a original kind of contour map of that pond. So we're intending to start with more or less looking at probably establishing a 4 or 5 foot depth in the middle. That's our assumption. And the side slopes of that would be a gentle 5 or 10 to 1. Nothing extreme. We're figuring it should be pretty obvious what sediment and what's not. The material will be stockpiled on site beyond the limits of the floodplain. That'll allow the water to kind of drain out of the soils, allow it to naturally decant in that area. Any of those piles will be, of course, ringed with silt fence or wattles or hay bales or what have you. The final location of the excavated material will be based on soil testing. We took a few soil samples before the Thanksgiving holiday. We're waiting for results of that. If everything's kind of clean, we'll find a nice spot for it that's outside 100 feet within any wetland and certainly outside of floodplain. Our project approach is pretty simple. This pond is the pond that's associated with the town forest dam. So there are 2 pipes that run basically around the dam and discharge to the spillway on the same side of the street. And we're going to be opening those valves probably tomorrow to, 1, make sure they still work because we don't know when the last time they were exercised, and 2, to slowly drain the pond. We want to do this in a fairly slow manner because it's behind the dam. Our work, of course, is going to be outside the limits of the actual dam, earthen dam structure itself. So as the pond kind of drains down through that outlet, we'll be able to observe what's what as we see the sediment and soils underneath the water. E&S control will be installed prior to any land disturbance. We'll start by cleaning the silt basin area and basically bypass water around that silt basin area, reestablish that, and then bypass the water around the main pond from the silt basin to the spillway and tackle the main pond itself. We don't expect this work to be more than a couple weeks. We're going to self-perform it, DPW, and pretty straightforward. Just trying to reestablish what the pond once was, and of course, while the pond's draining, if there's any fish in there, we're going to relocate them. I've already reached out to DEEP. They provided recommendations on the draining of the pond and maintaining flows, so they're aware of the project as well.
Did DEEP have any concern about the hibernating amphibians or turtles that might be in the pond at this time of the year?
No. This was probably a few weeks ago that I mentioned. I reached out to them, told them the application to this commission, as well as their timeline is likely a December project. And they just said to keep them informed of our timeline and viewed it as a strictly maintenance type of project.
Is this the recommended time for doing this sort of project?
We're looking at, they didn't mention anything in terms of recommended timelines. They acknowledged that the dry period that we've had for the last few months is certainly a good time to likely do this work.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about a lot of creatures go down to the pond to brumate this time of the year.
Right. Right. And, it's.
I mean, the summertime, at least they get a chance to get out.
If the commission feels we shouldn't be doing that this time of year,
I'm concerned. Did you talk to the wildlife division in Deep, or was the water division?
It was fisheries was involved.
Fisheries, okay, that's fish.
And it was, can't remember the original department I reached out to. Again, if the commission feels we shouldn't be doing this work at this time of year, we can take that consideration.
I'm just concerned. It's sort of like a little feedback from the wildlife division for
Could that be added as a condition?
Yes.
Yeah, I think when we were here before, we asked about concern for any non-fish in this area. You didn't think that there were any in the pond. And so maybe just we should check on what the right policy is. I do think it's dry time, which is good.
Yeah, but there's still down there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
They would, they're not able to move, and moving them would be fatal.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well,
yeah, if we could check with. I mean, the fisheries, the fish can be scooped up and moved. I'm not so sure about the ones that are down on the bottom, hibernating or ruminating.
So let's just say there's a lot in there. Does that basically change the timing for when they should be?
Just change the timing.
Yeah.
Likely. Yeah.
Change the
Because once they're awake and mobile, they can be moved.
Yeah.
But when they're dormant, if they go through a sudden temperature change or end up in a place that's not appropriate, they can't get out of it. They're just going to die.
Yeah.
So, worst case scenario would probably just be a change in timing. I'm not sure what the timing would be, but yeah, at least like late spring or
Summer. I know that's not ideal for recreation, but it's not used that much at this point for recreation.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd love to get a second opinion on the timing. I mean, it's probably Jackie, but there aren't a lot of turtles down the road. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in there.
Is there any way to assess how much is in there?
I don't know. That would be a question for the wildlife division for Deep.
And I had a question. The red, I missed the last hearing meeting. So the red line is where you're doing the excavation, or is that just the pond outline?
That's just the general pond outline.
So most of the excavation would be in the clear water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would think that the excavated soil would be really a good augmentation to some of our farmland. It's probably nice and sandy or silty. That might be a good place to look to put some of that.
Yeah, we'll certainly reach out to anyone that might like some excess soil.
There are a lot of soils, town soils.
Right.
Our farm soils were heavily degraded by some of our past agricultural use, and certainly the land that we have for town for agriculture would benefit from more silt and organic matter. Yeah, my main concern is, is the timing.
Right.
If we can get some clarification from.
So we have the option of keeping the public hearing open until the next meeting.
Okay.
December 6th.
That would be good. I think that would be.
To get that question answered. It's
my main concern is the timing.
Yeah. Or we can approve with a condition. So it's up to the commission.
Should be able to get an answer pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be. They would be like, don't dig until next month.
Yeah.
Probably. So.
I mean, considering, in my mind, it's fairly simple consult and decision that we have here. So I would much rather prefer having a condition of approval in regards to the timing of the project with a consult to Deep. And we'll certainly work with Brittany in terms of what that consult is. if deep wildlife in the next 2 weeks tells us not to do it at this time, they wait till summer, then that's the answer, and we wait till summer.
It would be notified one way or the other.
Right. But if you are going to disagree with deep wildlife consult just out of abundance of caution, then we can certainly agree to do the work in the summer. Either way.
If we keep the hearing open for 2 weeks, we'd be able to get the answer.
So I would feel more comfortable with that. I mean, I don't want to be detrimental to timing for staff. But if we're going to get new information, I'd rather keep the public hearing open and then close it officially. Once that happens.
Once we close it, we're out of it, and once we make the determination around it, so I would like to get that information.
Okay.
Is there a way to do that with a special meeting? Because somebody's been wait 2 weeks.
No, we can do a special meeting to make it earlier than.
Does it have to be for, because it's a public
So, right, so, I don't think it really requires the timeline that it does for the initial. If it's a continuance, as long as we notice what the date is in the newspaper, it doesn't have to be right now I have to do it twice in the newspaper, but if it's just a continuation, it can be a special meeting.
I mean, I think it illustrated it well, unless we think, if Deep comes back and says A or B, and we're gonna go with A or B, then we're kind of done.
Yeah.
And then we're talking to the public to argue one or the other. But unless we have some concern over that now, or we want to hear somebody else, then we're just asking to get the wildlife's official blessing on this. Right? I mean, I think there's another piece of information we need.
No, I just want to hear, not necessarily from the water resources people. I want to hear from the DEP wildlife who specialize in the amphibians, not just
They
fish.
have a herpetologist.
Yeah.
Right.
Would staff be able to, you said you wanted to exercise the valves. Could you continue to do that?
That's I would look at that as maintenance activity. They are supposed to be exercised on an annual basis at a minimum.
So you'd be okay with them doing that without drying
It's just
it
a
down?
test. It's not, you're not draining.
It's a test. However, at the dam too, we are under that purview allowed to drain the pond. And from a maintenance standpoint. And it's kind of a blurred gray area.
Yeah, especially since it hasn't been maintained all this time.
Right. However, out of abundance of caution, we can exercise them, make sure they work, and then close it back up.
That would be preferable until we get the answer from the herpetologist.
But I guess the question was, we're having a meeting in 2 weeks anyways. But if we would have another meeting in a week, then we have the answer, then you can actually get moving according to your plan.
Right. I think at that point, December 17th, we're going to be up against the holidays. So we likely wouldn't do the work till January. So it again just continues to push it off. So
Okay. So essentially, once we say we're taking another meeting, there's no reason for a special meeting. We just have it December 17th because you can't do anything about it anyways.
right, and that's partially why I'm kind of leaning towards the idea of we all just want to be cautious without consulting deep wildlife, hoping that they will supply to us in 2 weeks. That perhaps we just plan on doing this late spring in the summer.
Yeah,
And forego the continuing the public hearing.
also have a condition B that it starts in the spring.
Yes, out of a
It's not the spring, because that's when they're breeding. And it would have to be summer.
Summer.
Later in summer, hopefully during the bloom.
There are some really rare amphibians that have been spotted out in areas. I don't know if they've been spotted there, but it would be not good to accidentally extinguish a whole population of them. So
We looked at the database,
National Diversity Database. We have not asked for a consult on that.
That would be good.
If that's also a condition, we can do that in the meantime too.
So I thought I heard the request was for, a closing of the public hearing and an approval subject to these extra conditions, which would be, investigation of the database and the report back to the wildlife group, and that could be done through staff.
Correct.
And I can bring it back. Or I can have the commission, bring it back to the commission.
If we keep the public hearing open, it doesn't really change things any either.
No, I was actually, that's what I heard from, the town, which is, they were trying to request, we have a comment.
Margie, I just want to understand if I heard this correctly. The limit of this project is within the red lines, as you see for the boundaries.
First off,
My name is Leo King. I live in Simsbury, Connecticut. Familiar with the area. But what I want to stress is you were talking more about the main pond. A third of that enclosure in the red is a sedimentation pond that requires the most significant dredging than the rest of the pond. Because probably 10 years ago, that pond was drained and they put bypass pipes in around the dam into that north wall. But I heard you say before, most work be emphasized on the pond. Well, if you look at the total scale of what you're looking at, a third of that, there's some major dredging to the north. Or actually, that's to the northwest.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, is it the clear water, the area?
No, it's not. It's gonna be within those limits. That's why I wanted the clarification. What you see there, you see a little bit of blue in that northern west portion. That's gonna be all dredged also, which I think is required because that's the sedimentation pond that takes everything from the brook. And basically it's so shallow now, anything that runs down that brook just filters into the major pond that you're thinking about. I just wanted to make sure that you were clear on that.
Right, in the application, we included the photo log and the general location map of that pond, and it identifies the silt basin as well. We also included the original plan for constructing that silt basin back from the 80s. Construction of that included installation of a riprap berm and stop log structure.
Am I right in saying that when you go to start this, you're going to start in the siltation area and then work your way down towards the pond?
Right. We utilize that silt basin as a place where the water can still a little bit, and also so that it can drop out as we pump it around.
Are there any invasive plants in there?
I'm going to guess there might be a couple.
Is there control involved in the project?
Yeah, our intent is basically to remove whatever vegetation is necessary within the limits of that 1980s plan. Any invasives, of course, are going to be handled appropriately and not tossed on a stockpile for spreading some of this.
There's no knowledge. Public hearing, public comment? Yes.
I'm Kim Kowalski. I've actually been asked by the president of the Simsbury Pool Club, which we're in a butter, substantial butter for that whole property to the northwest. And we are actually in favor of the pond being cleaned out. The one thing that, a couple questions is that want to clarify that there's not going to be any control of the stream upstream. You're not going to control anything up there, reducing flow or anything like that during the drain out. And there won't be any, you're not going to be going any farther up north that you anticipate. So those are the only two issues that we wanted to make sure that we were clear about, and we're in support of it. So.
Thank you. Additional comments from the public? We'll close public comment. Or are we keeping it open?
So we have to decide if we're going to keep the public hearing open. Or...
There's really no disadvantage to keeping it open. Let me see. Does anyone have an objection to keeping it open? We'll keep the public comment open. And we will continue this discussion on the 17th. So I think we might as well take that extra step and just confirm that it's a sensible time to do this project.
Okay, so formally make a motion to keep the public hearing open until.
Okay, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move that we continue the public hearing into our next conservation meeting, which is the 17th, correct? And that the town will come back with the information that we requested regarding the appropriate time to actually do dredging.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agent actions.
Three agent actions for you. The first one was at 9 Elliott Drive. This was a shed that was placed on, it's 10 by 16 shed, placed on a crushed stone pad within the upland review area, approximately 83 feet from the soils. The applicant was provided this map that shows the location of hay bales to be used during installation. The next one is for 153 Great Pond Road, which is Wagner Woods. The Simsbury Land Trust requested a permit to deposit 4 tons of crushed gravel to an existing dirt road. The area is approximately 150 square feet. This is to reestablish the road, which you see on the picture on the left is quite muddy. And the vernal pool is approximately 50 feet from this area of disturbance. And then finally, 302 Bushy Hill Road, the construction of a deck, approximately 12 by 16. If you'll recall, this was an item before you in November for the construction of a house. The owner decided to also include a deck, and the deck was able to be administratively approved. It's 50 feet away from the soils, and the silt fencing that was there for the home is going to remain also for the deck. And that concludes.
Oh, that's that new construction, right?
Yep, that's that new construction house.
Just for the record, I mean, I know we're not deciding anything, but since I'm president of the Simsbury Land Trust, I actually requested them to go in for the
yes
permit.
Yeah. I got to talk to my old friend Bob.
Recusing myself from any of it. So. Does anyone have any comments? Or? All right, good. Old commission business.
I did want to mention that I'm working on a draft of a lighting ordinance, and it is in draft form. It's ready, but it just needs a couple more days to finalize.
Were the model ordinances?
So the model, I use a combination of model ordinances. Interestingly, I also looked at other towns. I wanted to make it user friendly as possible, yet as effective as the model ordinance is. So that's what's taking a long time to do that. But it was really, those were helpful.
So speaking of conservation business, Allison and I went to the Khaki Wick, the 50th anniversary Khaki Wick meeting, and I actually made a joint presentation with the Connecticut Lights Out and the Connecticut chapter of Dark Skies.
Oh, okay.
International on dark sky and wildlife impacts.
Is there any way to watch those presentations? I wonder if they're recorded.
I don't think so. I had asked because there was so many I wanted to see that, and obviously you can't be everywhere.
Right.
And I don't think they did.
No, but I think I know they asked for our slides, so they did quote, so they did have them available.
Okay.
And if anyone wants, I've got the slides from my section.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Do you want
And
to-
they're going to be doing, yeah, we're going to be doing that presentation. It's Farmington. But it's not till May, so.
No.
Yeah, but I will alert you then. Other than that, I don't think there are any things. There was a flurry of meetings, of conferences, I think. It was in basic plant. Did you go to that one?
I did go to that one. That was also really good.
Yes. Any takeaways?
I'm trying to think, it's like 8 hours of information.
A little bit overwhelming. But yeah, the flurry of the November conservation conferences is over, and then there'll be another flurry in March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the presentations I went to was, I believe he just retired as the state herpetologist. So that's why I was like, oh, this definitely, I don't know, like, I don't know who they replaced him with. I mean, I'm pretty sure he said he had just retired.
Oh.
And he was supposed to be there with another speaker. The other speaker didn't show up. So I'm wondering if that was actually the current, or one of the current herpetologists. Oh. So they exist. Good.
Maybe a position that it would be. Yeah. All right, any other?
So when's the next POCD coordination meeting? Do we want to talk about the dark skies thing at that to get some buy-in from the other committees?
Yeah, I don't know when the next.
I believe George said that's going to be sometime in January.
Yeah, I would think it'd be coming up soon.
Yep.
That's why I was asking, so that if we want to be prepared to utilize that to sort of get buy-in from people, we should have that dark skies.
The draft.
Yeah, the draft done so that we can wave it around and say, here's something else that we're bringing in and you other committees should know about this.
My hope is to have it for you at the next meeting.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that.
Of course.
Also, one point, I saw Canton is considering an ordinance surrounding invasives and what is planted. I couldn't find the proposed language, but there was somewhat of an uproar about people policing what's planted in yards. I know we discussed.
Oh, it was residential. It was residential.
I'm not positive that it was, or if it was just people talking. But I know we had discussed an ordinance on what the town can plant, and I just want to advise that we're very clear that we are not going to be policing people's yards.
Although it's very interesting that a lot of towns have weed laws about what you can't do in your yard, you know, and it's really from a cosmetic point of view. And there are plants that you cannot plant in Connecticut because they are agricultural weeds. But it is we haven't got to the point yet, which is somewhat unfortunate. We can still plant plants that are absolutely no benefit and ecologically, and maybe ecological harm, and we have no way of controlling that. And it's fascinating that plants are the base of the food chain. You know, if you have the wrong plants, nothing else works. We're taking this a very, you know, we protect our right to plant the wrong plant, which is an interesting concept. And I know in Canton, one of the commissioners, I forget which commission it was, but when this was put forward to them about plant, you know, having the town having a native plant policy, one of the commissioners interestingly said that native plants are just a phase, a fad.
Oh,
Just like for millions of years.
I mean, I think we should absolutely be encouraging people
Yes.
to do that. I don't want to turn anyone in town into the plant police.
No, but I think that goes to education.
Yeah.
Which is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we're trying.
And
yeah, I think we should definitely keep pushing down the education path.
Yeah, I think most people would do the right thing if they know to do the right thing.
Right, and still, if you get 50 or 65% of people with more awareness, you don't keep them along the way. As the town can set a good example, so I think we're on the right policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plants go through phases, you know, no one's planting certain plants in their yard anymore because they look old fashioned, so, you know, eventually people will get the idea that, they might be beautiful, but they're harmful. So we'll get there, we'll get there. But it is, I always find it interesting, we have weed laws on books in many towns.
But I bet this is great, what do you love?
No, I don't know.
So, yeah,
We haven't, like, if you don't maintain things.
Right, we have blight ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That-
but
for overgrowth.
that doesn't really,
That doesn't, yeah.
no, but it,
specify.
I know it doesn't specify, but I'm saying, yeah, I'm just, there's a house on Great Pond that's been literally abandoned for 15, 20 years.
And we know that.
Yeah, and it just sort of starting to get, but it's literally ever since I can remember, it's probably from the 90s. There's 2 dead cars in the driveway.
It's when those Oriental bittersweets start, you know, engulfing trees along the roads and that's,
right.
Anyway.
There's one in my neighborhood that, I don't think anyone lives there. Someone mows it once or twice a year.
I mean, if a blight ordinance is on the books and nothing happens for 25 years, you know, how effective it's like, you must not
it's
plant.
not, it's not, but there are weed ordinances in other towns in other parts of the country, which I find fascinating. Anyways, that's not where we are. Anything else to discuss? Okay. Well, all right, we, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll see you on the 17th.